Welcome to module number 22, scaling posts. So finally, you have an ad that is crushing it, right? Finally, and you're so excited, you're so ready. So how do you scale up? Now, I put this module together because I made many mistakes when scaling up. Many. So I'm hoping to give you some insight that I learned through those mistakes. Have you ever heard this line? Which is, wisdom comes from two places, mistakes and mentors. So I've made mistakes. I'm hoping to be able to mentor you based on those, right? One of the biggest mistakes that I made early on was this. I scaled up instead of scaling out. And that was a mistake. That was a mistake that I made, right? So what does that mean? It means I had ads that were doing great. So I increased the daily ad spend. If my campaigns were, let's say, $20 per day and doing great, then I'd raise them to $100 per day. I figure, hey, they're gonna do 5 times better, right? So I could put some fuel on the fire. Well, unfortunately, I learned the hard way. Oftentimes, when you increase your budgets, Facebook simply starts charging you more per click. All that happens is you're giving Facebook more money, and the more money you throw at it, they just start charging you more. Now, why is that? Well, it's because most of my ads are optimized CPM. Most of my ads are optimized, letting Facebook decide for me because those are the best. So because they're optimized, it's all in Facebook's control, right? Since it's in Facebook's control, I throw more money at them. They're like, oh, okay, he's got more money, so we don't need to work so hard. Whatever. I don't know what it is. I'm just being fun with it. But the bottom line is when I throw more money at it, ooh, it's a boo-boo, and it starts to lose me money. So I've found this to be true time and time again. All right, I tried a different approach. I just tried a completely different approach. What would happen if I scaled out instead of scaling up? What would happen if I scaled out? To me, this was revolutionary at the time. I didn't learn this from anybody. There might be other people teaching it. It wasn't working. And I sat there frustrated, banging my head against the wall going, how can I make more money off of these successful ads? All right. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about scaling out your ads. All right. If you had an ad that was converting like crazy, the first thing that I would personally do is this. So what do you do? What do you do with an ad that's converting like crazy? Don't mess with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? Let it have its run. Let it do its thing. All right? Keep tracking the daily ROI and be ready to pause it. But if it's still going, keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. All right, next. I'd probably duplicate the ad campaign. If you got something working, leave it alone, but duplicate it. Get a second campaign. Now, not a second ad in the same. I got to make sure we're understanding this. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm using the word campaign. Duplicate the ad campaign. Don't just make another ad in the same campaign. Create a whole nother campaign. Duplicate it, create a whole nother campaign. And just slightly change the target audience. So you got the same thing, but slightly different. And then keep duplicating, and keep changing the ads. Keep changing the audience. So you want to have multiple versions of that ad, all slightly different, all with a slightly different audience. Because if you're running it all to the same audience, you're just competing with yourself, right? You want to run them each to a slightly different audience. All right. For example, let's get into an example. Here we go. You ready? Let's say I'm selling T-shirts to the San Francisco Giants fans. Let's just say I'm selling T-shirts to San Francisco Giants fans. And let's say my ad that is crushing it targets a custom audience. So from the San Francisco Giants page. So I used a tool like Internet Marketing Bar. I went to the San Francisco Giants page and I grabbed a custom audience, all the fans that like all the posts there. Okay, let's say that audience is 300,000 people. Now I'm putting some numbers out there so I can show you very, very detailed here how to scale out. Now hopefully you're taking notes. Hopefully you're following along. So let's say I have a custom audience of 300,000 people that like the San Francisco Giants. That's a big enough audience that I could segment it into groups. So first things first, do you have a big enough audience? In that case, 300,000, that's plenty. Such as, and here's the groups I'm going to scale it to, San Francisco Giants fans who live in Los Angeles. So instead of Giants fans all over the world or Giants fans in the United States, I've segmented it to Los Angeles. I've segmented, so that's the target I would go. So what I do when I duplicate the ad, I would simply change the location of the ad to be Los Angeles. The ad location for my main ad might be the United States. So I'll change United States to simply be Los Angeles. Just that alone, I'm changing it. And then I would choose the next city or state whatever one I want to target next, and continue the process over and over again. So that's one way of segmenting, is that each different city or each different state could be its own campaign. All right? Each campaign would have its own small daily budget. Very small one. Let's say $10 a day. All right? Just each one. So that Los Angeles ad, $10 a day. I do another one to San Francisco, $10 a day. I do another one to San Diego, $10 a day. I do another one to Arizona, $10 a day. These are new campaigns. Now look, it doesn't seem like a lot. $10 a day, you're like, well, how's that really scaling out? Well, if you were running 100 ads at $10 a day, 100 different cities or 100 different segments, that's $1,000 per day in ad spend. $1,000 per day. And if you were doubling your money on average, so let's just say on average, you might have some ads where you're making 5 times your investment. You might have some ads where you're breaking even. You might even have a few losers in there. But let's say on average, when you average it all out, you're doubling your money. Which some of you might go, really? Yeah, I mean, we see people double their money all the time. We have students that are far more than doubling their money. You've probably seen testimonials even to get this course of people that are more than doubling their money. So let's just say you're doubling your money on average. That's $1,000 per day in profit. That's $30,000 a month in profit. In profit. That's your actual after expenses. $30,000 a month in profit. So you see, the key to scaling out this way is to have a large enough audience. That's really that's the trick. Now, if the original audience were only 5,000 people, it's going to be a lot tougher, because when you scale out, if your ad can only show to 50 people, I mean, you're going to pay a lot more money for a smaller audience like that. So, how do you scale if you have a smaller audience? Okay, so let's say you did have 5,000. Let's say your audience was only 5,000 people, and that ad was going gangbusters. How would you scale that? Well, another idea would be to target similar audiences. So instead of breaking down that audience is too small. So let's break it down. Let's find new audiences that are similar. So let's say you're targeting real estate agents. You could actually run ads to the following segments. So if you're targeting real estate agents, you might do people who work for Keller Williams. That might be a segment. People who work for Century 21. That would be a different campaign and a different segment. People who work for Coldwell Banker. Again, these are institutions that have a lot of real estate agents. Or maybe you do people who have the job title Realtor. Or people who like the fan page National Association of Realtors. Do you see what I'm saying? You would break down campaigns that would target these different audiences. That's how you would scale out. So you might run one campaign to just one of these audiences all over the United States and see if you can break a profit on that. Now, if you can break a profit, if you can find some success, then you scale out to all of these different audiences like this. Now, how do you find, real quick, before I go on, how do you find these audiences? You're going to need a tool like the Internet Marketing Bar, okay? So you're going to need a tool like the Internet Marketing Bar, and once you get the Internet Marketing Bar, imbtoolbar.com, that's short for Internet Marketing Bar, it's IM as in mom, B as in boy, imbtoolbar.com. Once you get that, you can go and you can grab these custom audiences like that. So once you get this, you can start doing all of these audiences, fans of this, fans of that, and so on. You can do them all. And you can start with a basic ad to these audiences, and if it starts converting, you simply segment more. Such as, now, ready? Remember how I talked about you might have an audience about Keller Williams? Well, what if you did it like this now? Women who work for Keller Williams. Now you've just broken that audience in half. So you could take the Keller Williams audience, and let's say that's working well. You could break it down to women who work for Keller Williams and men who work for Keller Williams. Now you have 2 different audiences. You could do women who are 35 to 45 and work for Keller Williams, and men who are 35 to 45 and work for Keller Williams. See, you could break it down. You got 4 audiences. Okay, you could do men who are 35 to 45 work for Keller Williams, targeted to mobile, and another one targeted desktop. So you see, that's another way to scale out instead of scaling up, and it continues for each target audience. So I usually start with 1 ad per target audience. That's usually my goal, 1 ad. This lets me see if it's going to convert or not. Now, if that ad starts converting, if it starts converting well, I scale. And I often split the following. So here's the things I often split. Men, women, age ranges, cities, states, desktop, mobile, right? Similar interests. I might find things that are very, very similar and so on. Those are all things that I scale. So hopefully these examples were simple enough to understand. Okay, so for scaling posts, one thing I like to do first is I like to test out a post with a very generic audience. In this case, I wanted to sell a I wanted to sell a farewell candlestick shirt. I went ahead and targeted over 800,000 people here in the United States who are 18 and older, and I basically was female. I ran one for women, one for men, and realized, look, this is something that could do well. 10 cents per website click, 6,000 clicks, right? So look, let's just say you've kind of cracked the code and you've got something that's working. Well, here is one of the big issues I've run into. Again, I'm not saying that, look, Facebook's changing all the time, so this information might change tomorrow. If you have some guru you've been listening to or some expert or whatever it is that tells you something different, my advice is to experiment. I'm always experimenting and trying different things. This is just kind of what's worked for me, is when I increase this budget here, when I go in and I increase this to, let's say, hey, $20 a day is working great, right? Look at cheap clicks, there's sales. Well, if I increase this to, let's say, 40, what happens is my cost per website click generally increases. So here's two ways to scale up. One is called scaling up and one is called scaling out. I'm going to go ahead and teach you both of them right now. You've got a campaign that's doing pretty good and you've tested it and you're like, hey, I want just more sales. I want more traffic and more sales. Okay. What you can do is, usually I never kill something that's working. If this one's working, I'll just let it be. Okay. I'll just let this thing keep going, right? I'll just let this thing keep going. But what I'll do is I'll create maybe a duplicate ad or something like that, and I'll change the budget to maybe $50 a day, okay, or $100 a day, whatever it is. You'll notice pretty much every single time you're going to notice this cost per website click goes up, okay? So from 10 cents, I might start paying 50 cents per click or even $1 per click. So you got to be careful and cautious about that. Now, the other thing I might do is I might duplicate this campaign and change it from optimized CPM. I might change it over to, see, I'm using max bid over here, optimized CPM. I might change it to manual CPC, manual cost per click. So I might bid just like $1, and I might see what price they're willing to give it to me. So I might bid $1, which is really up to $1 per website click, and they might give it to me for like 20 cents or 30 cents a click. That would be fine, because now I'll schedule this budget up to $100 or $200 a day and let that ride. So that's another way. So one way is, that's called scaling up, where you figure out ways to increase your budget. But one of my favorite ways to do is actually a technique called scaling out. Now, scaling out is going, hey, I got 800,000 people in this audience, basically interests. And by the way, this is not custom audience. It's just general interest. 49ers, San Francisco 49er Fanatics, San Francisco 49ers, or San Francisco 49ers, whatever. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about scaling. So what is this? This link here, teespring.com/farewell candlestick. All right. So let's go over here to create an ad, clicks to website, and let's enter in HTTP, oops, all caps, take that off, HTTP, teespring.com/farewell candlestick. Now, this is an older ad, so I'm not gonna bother really doing this. I'm just gonna use this as an example over here. Okay, so don't worry about the image. I'll probably change that later and everything. Remember, first things, you always got to choose a fan page. I'll have it go there. And normally I'd go in and do all that. I've shown you how to do this in the other ones, okay? So main thing I want to show you is just, we're going to create an ad here. So just imagine this is all a little bit better. But the main thing I want to show you here is when you go in, and in this example, it was women 18 and over who had interests in, 49er related interests. So all I did was I just typed in, 49er related stuff, I think there was like a few of them right there, right? I can't remember what they were, but it was something like that. Okay, whatever. So there's a lot of people there, potential reach, right? So what I might do here, and pardon all these messages, looks like Facebook's approving a bunch of ads there in the background for me. So what I might do is go, okay, look, there's a huge reach. So what if I break this down? Instead of scaling up, what if I scale out? Which means just add more sort of filters. Let's filter this down here. 18 and over, women, who have these interests right here. Okay, cool. So this is the first thing that, there's two things really that I'll usually segment with. One is age and one is location. Age and location are the main. I mean, I'm already segmenting by women. I mean, if I did all, that's already going to like double that, right? So I'm already segmenting just to women and men. When you segment by age, usually I'll group it like 18 to 24, and then I'll do another one 25 to 34. I'll do another one 35 to 44. That's segmenting by age. But segmenting by location is fun, because watch what I'm going to do here. And keep an eye on this right here, 1.8 million people. Locations. Instead of United States, let's do a city, okay? Let's do Los Angeles, And now let's take a look at that. 58,000. But Los Angeles is a big city. Let's do Los Angeles plus 50 miles. Okay, 82,000. Now this is something interesting. San Francisco is very far from Los Angeles, but they're in the same state. Well, why would I choose this? Well, watch what we could do up here. You can go here and in the description go something like this. Are you a die-hard Niner fan living in, and in all caps, Los Angeles, who loves Candlestick Park? Okay, something like that. So you get what I'm saying here. Now look what I'm doing here. Are you a diehard Niner fan living in Los Angeles who loves Candlestick Park? Get this, whatever. So, anyways, and then you could go down here in advanced options, put a description, and then you could do the same thing. Are you a Niner fan who happens to live in Los Angeles? Show your team pride by picking up this farewell Candlestick shirt and show your love for the Bay. Okay, something like that. Okay, so you see what I've done here. I've created an ad and I'm targeting Los Angeles. Okay, are you a diehard Niner fan living in Los Angeles who loves Candlestick Park? Get this, farewell Candlestick, you Niner fan who happens to live in Candlestick, whatever. Again, this can all kind of change. This is irrelevant to me. Okay, what's relevant is that I've just filtered this down to 82,000 people. I've got, let's say this is, and what I'll probably do is I'll probably keep this ad, whatever the picture was, whatever the thumbnail is that's working, whatever the ad copy is that's working, it's working. Something's working. Your ad's working. Your shirt's selling, right? So now, or whatever your product is, your product's selling. So now you're just looking at ways to filter. This is an example of filtering by city, by state. It doesn't have to be Los Angeles. It could be a bunch of stuff. So now you go down here, and now what you do is you create a campaign, and this campaign might be called, farewell Candlestick, and then I'll put like Los Angeles, and then I'll put, I'll probably do maybe something more like farewell candle. Actually, I'll probably do this because it's women. Farewell Candlestick, women, Los Angeles. Okay, something like that. So create a new campaign that's saved, and now I don't know. I usually, because I'm going to scale out and I'm going to do a lot of cities, a lot of states. I usually do this pretty small. I usually stick with like $10 per day, because think about it. If I'm doing 10 cities, that's equivalent to scaling up to $100 a day, anyways. So that's generally what I'll do. Now, I'll go down here. Everything's automatically the same. In fact, what I'll do is I'll cancel this right afterwards. I'll just place this just to show you kind of what happens next. That'll be fun, placing these kind of fake ads. So place order, and watch. Hopefully, I remember to cancel it. That would really suck if it doesn't. Your order has been placed. You'll receive notification. Now watch. I'm going to go here and create a similar ad. Okay, why am I showing you this? Because when I create a similar ad, it definitely models after everything. But now instead of Los Angeles, watch what I'll do. I'll cut that out. And then I'll go here and I'll do another one. Let's do like an entire state, Arizona. So now look, 40,000 people. Everything's exactly the same, but now it's Arizona. So now watch how simple this is. I've just copied it. I take this, and then I just change that, and then I just change this. Now look at that. Same exact ads. Are you a diehard Niner fan living in Arizona who loves Candlestick Park? Get this, farewell Candlestick. You just make sure you change whatever the thing is. That's scaling out right there. So scaling out. Now this is visibly scaling out. Of course, I don't have to actually put Arizona in the description. You can do the same thing. Let's say you have the perfect text, the perfect description. Let's say everything's perfect. You don't actually have to put the name of the state. You could just simply target the name of the state. It works the same way. But anytime that you can kind of put something here that resonates more with that audience, it's actually pretty cool. Okay. Now, really quickly, you've probably already seen the modules on Power Editor versus Ads Manager. In Power Editor, you wouldn't have this option to customize like this. In Power Editor, it's more like you're creating duplicate ads that point towards one dark post. So it'll be one dark post about the farewell Candlestick shirt, and I'm pointing in to, dozens and dozens and dozens of ads to it. In this example with Ads Manager, what I'm doing is I'm scaling out by making these changes. I'm scaling out by making dozens and dozens of dark post ads. So these will all have less comments, likes, and shares. This will only be liked and shared by people in Arizona. So anyways, I could go on and on and on. You get the point. And then I just keep placing the ad. I go down here and I change the campaign. Create a new campaign, and then I change this to whatever, Arizona. Okay, it's that simple. And then save it. And 10, I'm ready to go. Arizona, I'm ready to go. So you see, that's what I do. Now you might be asking, well, does this, do I really do this? Well, absolutely. So, here I am in my Facebook ads reporting. Here's some candlestick stuff. Here's another shirt that I sold. You can see a lot of stuff going on there. And this checkouts, I'm going to do, this is a different module right here where we talk about conversion tracking pixels. And at the time, these weren't really working that well. So you'll notice these numbers are actually high, but I'm going to actually show you how these numbers right here were actually far lower. The cost per checkout was crazy good. The cost per website click was great. 11 cents there, 19 cents, 28 cents. So I'm going to explain why these numbers right here, it's a tangent. I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm going to explain why these numbers were off and what I did to figure out the actual cost per checkout. And they ended up being a fraction of this. We're talking like sometimes $2-3. $2 per checkout, stuff like that. Okay, so we'll walk through that in a minute. But what you'll see here is you'll see like campaigns. I mean, look, just here, here's some examples. Let's see. Whoops, I just. All right, so let's see. Farewell Candlestick, Los Angeles. Farewell Candlestick, San Francisco. Oakland, Sacramento, San Francisco, Arizona, San Jose, Texas. So you can see Florida. So you can see, and then I can go over here, like say cost per website click. And I can start to see which ones were the cheapest, like 11 cents per click right here. Texas was some of the cheapest clicks. San Jose, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Arizona. So you start to kind of see the deal on how things kind of work over time and what you can do there. So anyways, this right here is kind of how I scale out. Is I'll do it usually by city in the times that it works by city, or I'll do it by age. Sometimes I'll actually show it in the ad. I'll actually show, and sometimes I won't. Oh, some of my ads are not getting approved. I have to go check that out in a minute there. It might have even been this one here because I usually don't use Teespring in the URL. So hopefully that's helpful right there in terms of scaling out. That's an idea. Scale out by, again, just in recap, we want to scale out by city or state, or scale out by age. And again, I didn't have to actually change these. I could literally just place the ad and change the city, and then place the ad again, change the city, place the ad again. Now, real quick, if I'm not going to actually change the ad text, then I'd rather do this in Power Editor. I'd rather create one really good ad, and then in Power Editor, I would duplicate a bunch of times. I would create one really good ad, then duplicate it a bunch of times, and just do different cities, okay? And I would just do different cities the entire time, or different states. Okay, hopefully that's helpful, and there's a good little module on how to scale out your posts. All right, so this is kind of a lengthy module, but I hope you enjoyed it, because scaling posts is one of the best things you could do. When you find something that's effective, you got to scale it. And look, obviously find what works for you. I'm not claiming that my way is the only way. I'm just saying this is all what's worked for me. So hopefully it's been helpful to you. I'll see you on the next module where we talk about the opposite side, how to cut your losses when things aren't going well.